Broadcasting stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome to Fort Worth, Texas, here in Cattletown. Memphis hoping to stampede to a title in the American. And I'll tell you what, J-Mo, it is interesting. In the hotel bar last night, there were people all over, smiling faces, and it reminded me of less than right at 2 years ago, I guess. Today is the day, isn't it? Today was the day the world changed with Rudy Gobert touching all the microphones and then him coming down with COVID and the world and the sporting world all shut down. Last year in this arena, they did play for the first time because, remember, after that, it was 2 years ago, they canceled all the games. I was on my way to the arena when there was the cancellation. And then last year, it was limited seating. We were literally in the ozone. We were up so high. But it was nice to be at least in a ballpark after doing games from a studio monitor. It was nice to be in there, but it wasn't the same. There weren't that many people. You were so far removed. Last night in that bar, it literally felt normal. And I think there's going to be, and I'm not sure when, there will be some sort of gathering of the people for a little pom-pom experience and cheer 'em on experience, little pep rally, I guess is the word I'm looking for. That is going to take place. I think it'll be tomorrow. Somebody was asking me if it was today. If anybody knows, text us on the AutoZone text line, 901-360-8255. It just feels a little bit like the old days. And you saw that, you got a taste of it last Sunday. That reminded me of the old days, 2008, the way that whole atmosphere was at FedEx Forum. It was fun. And then in the bar last night, fans from all over the place coming down. I didn't know how many there would be. I'm still not certain what that total number might be like, but it felt like old times. And that is something we all need. There's no doubt about that, with the war and the stock market going crazy and everything else, inflation, gas prices. We all feel the heat. We at least can get back to having sports be an escape. And I got a feeling this will be a decently attended conference tournament. I don't think conference tournaments are what they used to be. That was a focal thing where you actually save money for the year to go, because they're fun, to go to the conference tournament. Now I think people are a little bit more discriminate about that, and they save for the NCAA. So there could be several Tiger fans that were thinking about coming down today or tomorrow for the American tournament to see if they could beat SMU, see if they could beat Houston for a third time. But they're sitting and they're going, wait a second. Gas is expensive. I can only afford so much. I'm going to wait because I think they're going to get in the NCAA tournament. J-Mo, you're a different generation. What's your sense of what conference tournaments are? Because they used to be really, I thought, almost a pinnacle of fandom, and then you would go, it's a little extra reward, dessert, you would go to the NCAA if you get a ticket, or if you could afford it, but you really looked forward to the conference tournament. I don't know if that's the case anymore.
I'm really glad you asked me that question, Dave, honestly, because I don't know if I can speak for my generation as a whole, but as somebody that coached a low level of basketball, I actually I think the conference tournaments are greatly undervalued by the public and fan bases and stuff, because I think when you're inside a program, and maybe this isn't true necessarily all the time at Power 5 programs and Power 5 leagues, but I think that is honestly the focal point of your season. I think a lot of times people's eyes get big about the NCAA tournament, but I do think there certainly translates playing well in conference tournaments to the NCAA tournament, but I think you kind of have to, it's kind of a walk before you run thing. Your mindset when you're playing a basketball season, you're not really looking at the NCAA tournament, I don't think. I think it's still all about the conference tournament within those walls of a program. But I could be wrong about that, and maybe fans have a better gauge than I do about that. But at least in my sense, I think the conference tournament is greatly undervalued, and this week is really what the entire season for a lot of these teams comes down to. Now, there's a couple, like 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, I don't know how many, that might be able to look ahead to the national championship or the Final Four or something, but I think they earned that by, at first in previous seasons maybe, really dominating their league or their conference tournament. So I still think it all comes down to winning your conference tournament at the end of the day.
I think it sure did years ago, honestly. That's part of the reason of maybe a disconnect between fans and conference tournaments. For instance, in Tampa, which is a long way, except for the University of Florida, from most of the SEC schools, there is no question that Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky are all going to go to the NCAA tournament. The top 6 seeds at the SEC tournament are just sort of playing for maybe a seed line or so in the NCAA tournament. That's all they're playing for. Whereas in the old days, there might have been only 2 going from your tournament, right? From your conference, 1 or 2. You didn't have 6 or 7 or 8 teams that would get in, and so there was great meaning. And I think because of that, it meant more to win a conference championship. Nobody really anymore, in my mind, goes, oh, yeah, that team won the conference championship. They got knocked out in the first round of the NCAA. All people remember is how far you advanced in the NCAA. You see banners. You see them both, but you see more prominent banners about how far you might have advanced in an NCAA tournament than you do in winning a conference tournament. So I do think that is a part of it. I think for 3 schools here, seed line and maybe inclusion, like SMU, getting into the NCAA tournament. And frankly, the NCAA tournament has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. As the conference tournament's importance diminished. I don't think it's the same, but I do think because we've had this absence and because people remember the good old days, that we will see a few more people, at least at the American, than we have in the past. They gave out the AAC awards yesterday. Calvin Sampson was Coach of the Year. How can you argue with that particular award? You can't. And Calvin Sampson won the regular season championship, and J-Mo, he did it without his 2 best players, certainly his 2 best guards, in Marcus Sasser, who was an all-conference player, and Tremont Mark, who's the kid that hit that half-court shot in Houston last year to beat Memphis. Those were 2 really solid players, and he did it with remaking his lineup, rethinking the way he was going to score instead of from the perimeter. Fabian White, who's all first team, sort of was the beneficiary of that. But I think Calvin Sampson winning the conference without his 2 best players, that is worthy of being Coach of the Year. The second guy I would have put in would have been Ron Hunter from Tulane, because nobody expected Tulane to be as good as they are. Now, their best player, Jalen Cook, I am told he's injured and probably not going to play the rest of the year. If he doesn't play, I think that's sort of the end of the season for Tulane. How would you view that? Would you view it Sampson and Hunter?
I agree. I totally agree. And I saw also Tulane had a player honored too, didn't they? And I can't remember what the award was, but I think, it kind of speaks to that. There's so many different awards. I feel like when the coaches are voting on this, they try and just make sure everybody who is worthy of just some kind of awardship is accounted for. And I think that kind of speaks to that as well, that they had, I think it was most improved, right, is the player that Tulane had. So I've got no problem with Kelvin Sampson winning. I think you're absolutely right. Ron Hunter's got to be not far behind.
No, I think that would have been good. I think Penny would have been in the conversation, considering the second half of the year that Memphis did have. That first year sort of knocked him out of the box. That's for certain. Penny, in his going away press conference, was joking a little bit about the fiery speech that he gave. Truth of the matter is that And he pinpoints the moment, halftime, down 13 at Tulsa on the road, as the moment when Memphis turned the whole season around. So it was a little delayed effect, but after that, I mean, they did. They won 10 out of the 11. Only the bad loss at SMU is a bummer. Otherwise, pretty good. But he would have been in the conversation, but I think you got to go Sampson and then Ron Hunter. First team all-conference, start with Jalen Duren, who was, by the way, unanimous freshman of the year, which I don't think there was anybody you could have possibly thought about. He really emerged at the end of the year. Player of the year, Kendrick Davis, who's the guard who killed Memphis in the game at Moody Coliseum in particular. And Memphis has had some games they could not control him. And then there have been a couple that Memphis has played where they did control him. And I thought he was worthy. That's the second-place team. He was clearly the best player on that team. He's a great player.
You've been bragging about him since the first time you saw him, saying he's probably the player of the year in the league. And lo and behold, you were right. I can't argue with it either.
All right, you know what? I don't understand why TCU let him go, and they really didn't give him a chance, and that was truly a mistake. I don't know how Kelvin Sampson let him go. The kid's from Houston, and he's really a solid player, and he could be back next year. I don't know if he will. That's the big question mark we're going to see about a lot of people, including Tigers. How many kids will stay? How many kids, for instance, would think about, let's say, going to Europe, playing a lower level? You don't make that much money, but you make money, and you're on your own, and you're a pro, right? How about if you can make more money legally through an NIL that gets set up for you? Wouldn't you want to stay? If you're Kendrick Davis, I don't think is an NBA guy. I've not seen him in any of the mocks because he's a small guy. He's got an unbelievable first step. He's got good range. He might work his way up to the NBA, but I don't see him on these mocks. So if you go to start a mid-level European League team, this may be a question tomorrow for Andy Schiffman. What are you going to make? A couple $100,000, maybe?
Yeah, probably so.
If you can make $300,000-$400,000 at NIL and stay in school and maybe even get a master's degree if you've graduated, that's a heck of a deal. Some of those student athletes may have to think about that. And believe me, there's plenty of money in the SMU program where if they wanted to, they could put out the cash for Davis legally. And he was the player of the year. The other guys on the first team, Fabian White, who I think is Houston's best player. They're the league champions. He belonged on there. Jalen Cook. Now, there's the kid from LSU that's injured. He's clearly their best player. He originally went to LSU, transferred. He wasn't getting minutes there. He's a big-time guy. And then I guess because Houston won the title, they put two players on the first team. Josh Carlton got picked. Now, I question that. And some of it is, J-Mo, I can only go by what I see, right?
Right.
Carlton, I think, averaged close to 12 points and 6 rebounds a game. Against Memphis, the dude averaged like 4 points, maybe 5 rebounds, maybe, and he kept getting in foul trouble. He looked like a no-team player. Not just not first team, but not second team or third team in my mind. So I don't know about that choice. Second team, DeAndre Williams, very worthy. I still think bottom line is he's the best player on the team. He's an influence, an emotional leader. When you need a bucket, he'll get it for you inside or a rebound. I know Duren's become the man, and they kind of go through Duren or Williams. But Williams definitely belongs second team. Tristan Newton, who's a guard from ECU, got in there. I'm okay with that, I guess. Kyler Edwards became the scorer for Houston when Marcus Sasser was injured, so he belongs on there. Marcus Weathers is the bigger of the twins at SMU, really athletic. He belongs on there. They have 6 guys on the second team. I guess there must have been a tie. Then Damian Dunn from Temple, who's a promising kid, and Jalen Forbes, who's also from Tulane. Tulane ended up with more guys on the 3 teams than Memphis did, which I don't think is exactly correct either. Then the third team is David Green from UCF, David DeJulius from Cincinnati, and I'd put him on there. Green, I'm not that sold on. Kevin Cross, another guy from Tulane who's a pretty good player. Tyson Etienne, who was the conference player of the year, he made that team, that third team as well. There is just this infatuation with Etienne. I don't think he belonged in the third team, to be honest. And then Jamal Shedd is the point guard for Houston, and he was a steadying influence for them for sure when both Sasser and Mark was their starting point guard. So I don't have a problem with him being on there. I do feel bad because I think for sure Landers Nolly belonged at least on the third team over any of the guys that they chose. I think that Nolly, he missed a bunch of time, maybe that's why, but I would have put Nolly on that team. He was another first-team all-conference guy, didn't get any honor. Freshman of the year, we mentioned, was Duran. He's on the all-freshman team with Josh Minot. Defensive player of the year was Dexter Dennis. Okay, he's very, very good. I get it, but I'd have to take a look at Lester Quinones. I think Quinones sort of got robbed in this deal. And then sixth man of the year, Ricky Council. Another guy from Wichita State who is a good player, but he was starting at the end of the year for that team. And I kind of think, at the way the end of the year played out, I think Tyler Harris deserved to be sixth man of the year. Any thoughts about that, J-Mo?
I'm sure he received some votes. That would have to be one that comes up there. You know, you would think a guy that starts at the end of the year might be excluded from voting. The thing that stood out to me the most, and this isn't a Memphis guy, but on the first team, that guy Jalen Cook, who I remember the first game against Memphis, he had like 25. That was the game Memphis.
He was unstoppable.
And he gave like every team in the league 20. So I'm a little surprised he wasn't a unanimous first team. Maybe that's just splitting hairs, but like what coach in the league wasn't going to vote that guy as first team in the league? I mean, he gave everybody 20. But he's a great player too, and only a freshman, so he's got a long, good road ahead of him.
Since you've got those votes there, is Josh Carlton, did he get a lot of votes for that first team?
I don't have the total votes, but they do denote guys that were unanimous.
Okay.
And the only one of those was Kendrick Davis, first team, and also unanimous. Jalen Duran was the only other unanimous guy on the freshman team. So those two were unanimous guys.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Duran should have been a freshman of the year. And honestly, I don't think there's any question that Kendrick Davis was the player of the year because, Houston did it by committee. There's no question about that. And Davis, that team is not a second-place team without Kendrick Davis. I do think he's the most valuable guy for sure. I don't know if you saw this. You can look it up on YouTube or go to Twitter and find it. I saw it on Twitter. Did you see Bruce Weber's speech last night after West Virginia beat Kansas State?
No. It was like a press conference?
It's a press conference. It's about 6 minutes long. It's worth watching the 6 minutes. So this year was a bad year for him. They were 14-17. They lost their last 6 games. They were 6-12 in the league. West Virginia beat them in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. And I kind of like Bruce Weber because Bruce Weber was coach of Southern Illinois University and did a good job for them. And I always thought he was a classy guy. And this speech is really classy. It talks about how much he loves the game, how he's old school, how he went through the list of coaches at Kansas State that didn't win titles, right? He also mentions, and we'll talk a little bit later in this program with Ron Higgins, about those teams that were caught in the crosshairs of the FBI. Everyone except one of those coaches is still playing in the NCAA. And he went on to say, look, I did things the right way. I'm probably not going to be around next year. I want to coach as long as I can. I've been doing this for 40 years. I love my guys. I love the game. I love the gym. I did it the right way, and I'm proud of that. And if I don't if I'm not here next year, I'll be sorry, but I'll leave with my head up. I love the game. I love the people in the game. But look around at the guys who were he doesn't say this quite, but he's implying it. Look at the cheaters. Look at the FBI tapes. Those guys are still coaching.
That's right, and they're not being punished in any way. And it's a little bit unfair that that's kind of the it goes back to every cheating scandal, right? Like you know, what you try to, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If other guys in your sport or in your peer group are cheating, you might have to keep up with them. So I think he made a bunch of good points just from what I'm reading and what you said there.
I thought it was outstanding. And, you know, you go through a list, there's like a list of 6 or 7 guys that he brought up that were really good coaches. He's actually won a Big 12 championship with them. I think it was like 14, maybe. I'm trying to remember. But, you know, he went through this list of guys, and most of them are still coaching. And he goes, they didn't win a title. I did. I won a title.
That's right. He won the Big 12 regular season in 2013 and 2019.
Okay, 13 and 19. So he won 2 titles, and here they are 2 years later, 3 years later, they're going to bump him out of there. Last thing, Tiger Woods into the Hall of Fame last night. Great little bits of speech that I've seen from it. I didn't see the whole thing. His daughter introduced him, and that was cool. But, you know, he talked in his speech a couple of things that really touched me about how his dad had really taught him work ethic, discipline, and that you have to earn things. No one can give you things. You have to earn them. And you don't do the time on the practice range. Not only will you not succeed, but you don't deserve to succeed. He talked about how his dad and his mom both sacrificed. And, you know, you think about him and you think of all the money that he's got. Now, he's a billionaire, right? You think about his children's life and how different that was from him. When he started to really excel, they wanted to put him on the junior circuit, that AJGA circuit. They didn't have the money to do it. So they took out a second mortgage of their house in order for their child to be able to play golf, which worked out because, right, he attracted enough attention to get a full scholarship at Stanford. I mean, it's a great story. But when you think about what they had to sacrifice for him to succeed, it becomes an even better story. He talked also about how he wasn't allowed in country club clubhouses at certain places because of his race. I mean, you know, this was not a totally easy life at all for Tiger Woods. And the popularity that he brought upon the game, there's so many different avenues, but I'm just going to go right to the heart of the numbers. This is amazing, JMO. In 1997, what he did to prize money to now, at the Players where they're playing, where they were doing this Hall of Fame stuff last night, the winner in 1997, before Tiger Mania really took hold, the winner, or the entire prize package, was $3.5 million. That was the whole purse for everybody in 1997. So we're talking 25 years ago. The whole purse was $3.5 million. Now, 25 years later, thanks to Tiger Woods, the whole purse is $20 million. The winner gets more than the entire purse used to be. The winner gets $3.6 million. That can all be attributed to Tiger Woods.
No doubt.
We've witnessed an unbelievable guy in our lifetime.
One more thing, Dave, before we go to break here. Breaking news from John Rothstein. Kansas State's Bruce Weber has re-signed per a school spokesman.
Wow. That speech must have hit home.
Apparently
so.
so.
That just... I'm going to tell you, that's a feel-good story right there. I'm happy about that. So maybe that saved his life. And, you know, it's just a reminder of what I've done. I've done it the right way. I've won you 2 titles. Here's like 6 coaches that are great coaches. They're still coaching. They didn't win a title. I deserve another chance, but it was a bad year. But I hope Bruce Weber does get it turned around. Well, you're in the Family Leisure Memphis. I'm in the Family Leisure Fort Worth. And I can tell you this, those folks at Family Leisure are looking for more people so that their business continues to grow at the rate it's going. If you are a self-motivated guy in sales, in assistance, in even installing above-ground pools, this is your place. Family Leisure, I-40 and Wooden Road. Get a hold of them today. We take a quick break. Back in a minute. Our friend Russell Copeland on the National Football League. He's next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes from Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. When was the last time you had your heating system cleaned? How about a safety inspection? Right now, Conway Service is offering our 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up on your heating system for only $69. That's right, for only $69, we'll come out and perform our 16-point Energy Saving Super Tune-Up on your heating system. We'll also include a complete safety inspection using our state-of-the-art camera system, making sure your heating system is safe to operate this winter. Plus, we'll run a carbon monoxide test on your heating system, all for only $69. You can have the peace of mind knowing your heating system is safe and ready for those cold winter nights. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. That's 384-3511. Call this week, and we'll perform your heating system tune-up for only $57.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Mount Moriah Auto Sales. What sets them apart? Great selection, quality, high-end to low-end cars, and low mileage. Mount Moriah Auto Sales is under new management. Ask for Emmett or Steven. Check out their great selection of cars or trucks. Choose from Dodges, Jeeps, Fords, GMCs, Infinitis, Porsches, Range Rovers, Lexus, Mercedes, BMWs, even Bentleys. Mount Moriah Auto Sales also has a great service department with 12 bays for everything from oil changes to alignment to new tires. Go to MountMoriahAutoSales.com. Pick out your like new car or truck today. Mount Moriah Auto Sales, right on the corner and right on the price.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We are brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That's Highway 78 and Craft Road. First exit Mississippi 8, Mississippi. Highway 78, by the way, that's Lamar in Memphis. You know that. And you know when you go to Homer Skelton Hyundai, this is the truth. You're going to get taken care of, one. But two, you'll never be exploited. Other dealerships, I'm not naming them, but if you go there, they're taking advantage of the shortage of new cars. That's simply the truth. You'll never see that happening at Homer. They only will charge you what that sticker price says. You never pay more than sticker price, and they're getting new cars in. I saw a whole bunch of new Konas the other day. All you got to do is get to Olive Branch, turn left at Craft Road. You'll love what you see. They've set the standard for the way car business should be done at Homer Skelton Hyundai. And this portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. 2 generations around the entire Memphis area of building these great palaces or renovation with innovation. He'll take your older home. You don't want to leave. You love your lot. It feels like a soft, old, comfortable shoe. You never want to give that up. But you want modern amenities. You want the speakers in the walls, and you want the California closets, and you want the big island in the kitchen. He knows all of the details. Renovation with innovation. If you're looking for land, he's got that. If you're not sure how to utilize land because you're finally ready to build that dream home, he knows exactly what to do with that land. First, go to kengarland.com and see what I talk about here. His partnership with his dad, all these years, 50 years of building these great homes. Then call him. He loves talking, sees little details, big picture all at once. 751-1632, Ken Garland, Custom Home builders. Our friend Russell Copeland talking about the National Football League and what a week it was, Russell. Aaron Rodgers for like $50 million a year, we think. I don't know if we've ever seen the final details. And the big trade with Denver and Seattle, and Russell Wilson is leaving Seattle, and Pete Carroll. This was rather monumental this week.
Absolutely, and starting with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the contract that the Green Bay Packers gave Aaron Rodgers, 4-year, $200 million. I think it was $153 million guaranteed, which makes him the highest-paid player in the history of the National Football League. And I think when you look at this, Dave, I think you have two sides. I think when you look at the Green Bay Packers, it's a way for them to say, we apologize, we are sorry, we appreciate what you have done for this franchise. And I think Aaron Rodgers was on the limb. I don't think that he really knew where he wanted to play. And I think the money now puts him the highest paid player. And I think he looks at it and say, I deserve to be the highest paid player. But, when you look at the Green Bay Packers, they've been able to be right there to win Super Bowl. So if you look at Aaron Rodgers as a player, since he won the Super Bowl in 2010, he has lost 4 conference championships, lost 4 divisional round games, and 1 wild card. So when you look at it, he's right there on the list. But with all the talent, can he lead this Packer team to a Super Bowl is my question, Dave.
Well, I know this much. They wouldn't be going to any kind of Super Bowl or even postseason if they didn't have him. I ask you this. He's going to get $153 million any way you look at it, right? Because that's the guaranteed deal. How many years because he's going to be 39 before, as this starts. He'll be 43 when that contract ends. Will he be able to play and put up the kind of numbers Tom Brady did at that age, or do you think he doesn't finish this contract?
I think he does finish this contract. Now you have the franchise tag with Devontae Adams, and I think over the next few years, I think they will be able to put some pieces around him, whether it's another wide receiver, whether it's players on the defensive end. When you look at Tom Brady and you look at how he was able to play toward the end of his year, yes, he was playing at a very high level, but from a physical standpoint, you could be able to see the strength of his arm declining. You saw that with Peyton Manning, his arm strength declining. I do not see that with Aaron Rodgers. I see him being able to make all the throws. I see the arm strength. So from a physical standpoint, barring injury, I think he can still play at a high level. And I think when you pay Aaron Rodgers the money that you've invested in him, I think that says now we're going to get the players that you need in order to win a championship.
By the way, and I'll get to this after we talk about Russell Wilson, did you see the breakdown on the franchise tags? Because there is clearly value to different positions. We get into that in just a second. Talk to me about what Seattle did. I mean, Denver's mortgaged their future for right now. Did Seattle, which gives up that quarterback, I don't know if Drew Lock will be their guy, really. Did they just say we're pausing for a few years? I mean, what's the message you get out of that from both those teams?
Well, I think when you look at Seattle, I think it's clear that they're in a rebuilding process. When you have your franchise quarterback who's talked about not being happy for a few years, I think you have to look at it and say, what are we going to get for him? And when you get Drew Lock, you get Noah Fant, who was also a first rounder. Drew Lock was a high second-round pick. You gave up Shelby Harris, a good defensive lineman, but 2 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round picks. I think you look at that and say, hey, we have an opportunity to build for the next couple of years. And also from the defensive side, they released Wagner, who was the only player, and Russell Wilson that had been there for a long period of time. So I think they will be rebuilding out in Seattle, especially when you look at that division. When you look at the Denver Broncos, I think you look at Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think you look at Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. They feel like they are a quarterback away from being able to compete and ultimately get to the Super Bowl. And the Denver Broncos said, hey, we're going to take the route that the Rams took last year and the past couple of years to try to get to the Super Bowl. I like the trade, and yes, did they have to give up a lot? Yes, they did, but that is the value of a top quarterback, and I definitely think Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback and a future Hall of Famer.
It's been a while since he won that Super Bowl. What was it, 2014? Something like that.
I think he won in Super Bowl 48. But I think people forget, Dave, he beat Peyton Manning 43-8. He led a Seattle team 43-8. The following year, he goes head-to-head with Tom Brady, and the only thing that changed that game is an interception that he threw on the 1 yard line, but I don't think actually it was his fault. I don't think there's no way you do not give the football to Marshawn Lynch. Therefore, he wins the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. And if you look at his career numbers, I mean, he's only one of 4 quarterbacks that has a career number of 100 or more quarterback rating. I mean, he's had an outstanding career. I mean, completions, yardage, 37,000, completion over 3,000, 292 touchdowns. I mean, 292 touchdowns, 87 interceptions. He's worthy of the money, and I think he's still playing at a high level. I
agree with you. That Super Bowl was on Pete Carroll, because that decision not to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the 1 yard line was crazy. I wonder how long Pete Carroll lasts in Seattle, because it seems to me they're going to be down for a while. Is this enough in the AFC now to have this guy to push Denver over the wire here?
Well, I tell you, the AFC is loaded. I think when you look at the Denver Broncos, I think they were very competitive early on in the year. And I think now when you make the changes, I think when you get Russell Wilson, I think you have a lot of wide receivers that can run. You have Gordon, whose contract is up. You get him taken care of. You get a couple more pieces. You get some pieces that's in the draft free agency. I think they'll be ready to compete in that division, because you look at the Denver Broncos, they went head-to-head with Kansas City last year. I think they beat Kansas City twice last year. So I think he can fit in right there. I think it's going to be a competitive league. But, hey, he comes from a division where it's been competitive. When you look at the 49ers, you look at the Arizona Cardinals, you look at the Rams. So he is accustomed to being competitive. He's accustomed to putting up big numbers and playing big in big games. I love the move. I think Denver will be right there to compete.
It'll be fun to watch, that is for sure. Let's go back to the franchise tag. First of all, your perception as a player, if you're franchise tagged, you get a decent amount of money, but you're like on hold for a year, it seems. And then I love the way they valued it out. A running back, that position is valued only slightly more than punters and kickers. It's way down from everything else. It shows you how the game has evolved.
Well, when you look at the running back position, it's $12.5 million, and the tight ends is the lowest when you look at $10.8 million. So it has evolved into a passing league. Right at the top, you have the quarterbacks at $28 million, wide receivers at $19 million. Then you go to the defensive side of the football. But it's a passing league. You know, if you do not have a quarterback, Dave, if you do not have a really good, solid quarterback, your chances of winning a Super Bowl, winning your division, and going into the championship conference rounds, it's going to be slim and none. So that's where the game has evolved now. And, you know, just looking at free agency, I look at the wide receivers. I look at that franchise tag. I think players do want to be able to get multi-years so you can get more guaranteed money. But playing for 1 year, if you're playing wide receiver and you're playing quarterback, you get $28 million, you get $19 million for 1 year. That's still very good. But as a player, I do want to be able to be inked in for a 5-6 year, $115 million contract, $100 million contract with about $75 to $80 million. Yes, that's what I want. But it's not, you know, chopped liver when you're a wide receiver or quarterback and you're getting $28 million for 1 year.
So your view, okay, if you're Devontae Adams, try to be him. You just saw your quarterback, who clearly is one of the best in the league and deserves it because of what he's already accomplished. He's getting $50 million a year. You did not get any kind of long-term security from the Packers. You got 1 year, decent money. Are you happy?
Well, you're happy that Aaron Rodgers is there, but from a financial standpoint, looking at your family, no, you do want a long-term deal, but I think he still will play at a high level, but you still want to be able to get taken care of. You want to have a high number. You want to be able to be one of the top position paid players in the National Football League. So to answer your question, he's happy that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but from a contract standpoint, from a long term, I do not think he's happy with that. All
right, last thing, Deshaun Watson. Apparently his lawyer is telling him to take the fifth when he goes on the stand. He's got this is the first of 22 women who've come up against him. You think Deshaun Watson ever plays in the National Football League again?
Hopefully he does. I think a lot will come to tomorrow. When you say pleading the fifth, he's pleading the fifth now because what he's going to say now cannot be used against him if he has to go to court in a criminal case. I think a lot will be determined tomorrow. Is there enough evidence for it to go to court for a criminal case? And we'll talk about this a lot in the offseason. I do think that he plays again, but it's really going to be determined tomorrow if it goes to court or not in a criminal case. If it does not go to court in a criminal case, I think that he will be able to play, and I think at some point he will be able to settle with the victims or what he's been accused of.
He is Russell Copeland. He joins us every week because the National Football League is always front and center. Have a great weekend, my friend. I know you're going to be watching your Tigers play hoops.
Definitely. Go Penny, go Tigers. I'll be looking forward to seeing them play tomorrow night, I believe. You got it. Yep. About 8:30 tomorrow evening. They'll take on the winner of today's game between UCF and USF. That is Russell Copeland. He is brought to you by Old Dominic. They'll be cheering for the Tigers tonight because they're partners of the U of M. They always remind you to share a sip responsibly. They're the only distillery in town that gives you a tour, a history lesson, and a lesson on how you learn the craft. From grain to glass, you'll learn all about distilling great spirits. They got tastings and craft cocktails. They're really a terrific place right in our backyard, 305 South Front Street. Go say hello. Check out their after-hours bar, elegant, not stuffy. That is Old Dominic. And this portion of the show brought to you by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and of course that tune-up. That tune-up is always so important. Why, you say, Wolo? Why are you always pushing that tune-up? I'll tell you why. I want my system to last, and I want it to be efficient, so I get a savings on my MLGW bill. So when they come in, they put their little slippers on, and they do the 16-point tune-up inside your house. Then they walk outside, they take those slippers off, and they go out to your unit. Well, some of us have 2 units back there, and they clean the dirt and the grime and the leaves. They do that all for $69. And then you know your system is efficient, which means it's going to last longer. And all you got to do is make the call. And $69 for all of that, believe me, that is worth the money. 384-3511, 384-3511, Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Pause for a second. When we come back to Baton Rouge, we will go. Our SEC historian on the tournament and on the letter of inquiry from the AIRP. That means Ron Higgins will talk about the woes of the Bengal Tigers in just a second.
Peter Edmiston and Anthony Sane bring you Sports 56 Grind Time. Brought to you by Poultry Power. Weekdays from 1 to 3 on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, friends. I'm Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and for 5 decades, we've been the personal jeweler to thousands of Memphians and Mid-Southerners. For many, many years, we've been offering the finest and beautiful jewelry to help our customers celebrate those very special occasions and let their loved ones know just how treasured they are. Diamonds and gemstones are our specialty, and set in whatever she wants, a ring or a pendant, a pair of earrings or a bracelet. We search the world's most fabulous jewelry markets, looking for pieces that are not only exquisite and beautiful, but that are also unique and eye-catching. We can help you make her smile in a way that neither one of you will ever forget. Come see us at Russell Brothers Jewelers. Let us put our many years of experience to work for you. Let us help you say, I love you in the most wonderful way you can imagine. 5 decades providing beauty, value, quality, and service. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, Orco hard coolers, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett and Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Hey, you. Ever wanted to learn a new language, like French or Spanish, or even Norwegian, but thought it'd be too difficult or time-consuming? If so, it's time to try Babbel. Babbel lets you customize how and when you learn. Quick 10-minute lessons on words,
siesta,
Bambola, phrases and grammar,
last night coffee,
to games that keep it exciting. Listen to podcasts on the go or take live online classes with a real teacher.
Hola clase, ¿cómo están?
It's really up to you. In no time, chatting about real-life topics will feel, well, effortless. Go ahead, see where Babbel takes you.
Ah, Paris.
More ways to explore, more ways to learn. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Bellyacre's motto is City-Fied Farm Fresh. The goal is simple: provide a fun, unique farm-to-table experience for the whole family. Two great locations, Regalia at 6130 Poplar and in Overton Square at 2102 Trimble Place. Overton Square hours Sunday through Thursday 11A to 9P, Friday and Saturday 11A to 10P. Regalia Sunday through Thursday 10:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Signature burgers are made from 100% grass-fed beef. Sandwiches, salads, and the best milkshakes anywhere. The burgers, so good, like the Daria or the Double Daria, and the melt in your mouth. And you have to try the Voodoo Moo Moo. It is the quality brand the Bellyacres team has developed using grass-fed beef with creative homemade toppings in a fun farm setting right here in the city. The goal at Bellyacres, to become even more sustainable as they grow. In Overton Square and in Regalia, the very best quality available in Memphis, burger shakes and smiles at Bellyacres.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Final portion of our show will come to you from Baton Rouge. I'm in Fort Worth. Our friend Ron Higgins, SEC historian, on a whole bunch of topics. He comes your way in a minute, brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Matt Eflin and his crew, they do things a little differently. It's collaborative. They want to get to know you. And that's what they do, whether it's home insurance, an auto program, maybe it's life insurance. He sits you down. He'll ask you about your family, what's important, what really needs to be protected. He'll ask you about your budgetary constraints. Then he marries you to the right protection every time. Same thing with businesses. If you're a commercial business guy that is really a small to mid-sized business, you need to talk to Matt and his crew. They sit you down. They'll forecast you out. What do you expect? What's important? What are your assets? How do you protect them? What's your budget? He figures it all out and matches you with the right company, and you are protected. If that sounds good to you, collaboration, getting to know one another, call Matt. That number's 901-386-GUR, because he's a Tiger fan. 901-386-4777. That's the Eflin Insurance Team. So while he's pulling for these Tigers in Baton Rouge, those Tigers, they got a letter of inquiry from the AIRP. Memphis is still waiting for the answer from them. They haven't gotten any kind of a letter. I'm hoping it doesn't come for a few weeks, but it did come to LSU. Ron Higgins, what do we know about that letter at this moment?
Well, this moment that they have the letter, and I guess you have to go through the process of going through the allegations. I mean, I think it's going to be a while before, another several months or whatever before anything's settled in that case. The problem is that LSU wanted the NCAA to separate the football allegations and the basketball allegations. The football allegations I think LSU has a pretty good defense. I mean, they had a guy, a CEO who was, of a local children's hospital, embezzled money to pay off the father of an LSU football player. To me, unless LSU had knowledge of that or set it up or whatever, right, that's pretty hard to pin on a university to say. I don't know I'll put it this way: I don't know how you can control boosters like that, and probably would have been found out if the guy had not been arrested. I mean for embezzlement. It's a terrible thing. And also the sad part about it is that in today's NIL world, all we would have to do is make the kid a sponsor of the hospital. Honestly, I mean it's to me it's a lot of this stuff that's going on now. I guess I'm looking back and thinking, stuff that 2 years ago was legal, now everybody's being bought. It's legal. That's the crazy part about it. You can just go out and buy somebody and it's legal. I mean, that's why I still laugh about Jimbo Fisher being indignant about the Aggies having a great recruit year and acting like it was an insult for people to think that that they had Aggie alums buy players, and it was an insult to his staff. Well, his staff did great work, yes, getting lined up, but somebody's got to close the deal with some cash, or a deal like that. So, but I think what's going to happen. I'm not, as far as the Will Wade thing, it might be a case where LSU, in order to save themselves on any more football sanctions, because they penalize themselves already on some stuff, maybe they sacrifice Will Wade. That could happen. Say, what? So then say good faith, or we're getting rid of this guy. But again, we don't know all the allegations because they're not out there.
Right. I'm shocked that they aren't, because there have been several media entities that I think have tried to use sunshine laws to get LSU to reveal the notice of allegations, and they have yet to do that. How long can they hold out before we all see it?
I don't know what the time frame is, man. As far as how many days it takes for them to reveal the stuff. You can. You can, redact names, but you should be able to reveal violations.
Right.
That seems to me that would be legal. Yeah, that would be fine. So I don't know if it's a waiting period or what, but right now nothing's moving on it.
I don't know if you saw Bruce Weber's speech last night, and he was thinking he was going to get fired, so he had a 6-minute press conference where he went really deep. It was really, if you haven't seen it, take a look at it. I think you'll appreciate it, being a historian. And he mentioned all the guys except one that were in that FBI wiretap, including Will Wade. Every one of those coaches is will be coaching in the NCAA tournament this week. And he was referring to the fact that he thought he was getting fired, which he didn't today. He ended up getting a contract extension.
Yeah.
But, that he's done it the right way. And those guys have not been punished yet. When I heard the wiretap stuff from the FBI, Will Wade was guilty as could be. I don't know how he gets around it. I don't know how Bill Self has gotten around it.
I guess you win, and I would think Bill Safe would be safer than Will Wade, because he's built up more years and goodwill at a place than Will has. Probably. Bill Self was a veteran coach. Will's not. So, not that much veteran. Will Self's been around forever. So maybe that's how you get by. Maybe that's how Bruce Pearl got by,
Maybe. That's true. All right, real quick, 30 seconds. Tell me, who wins the SEC tournament?
Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think their guards are back and they're playing well. So I think Kentucky wins it. I want to say one thing real quick.
Sure.
Just hearing stats in Northworth, he said the word voodoo moo made my day.
I hope Brett is listening. There's nobody that can say voodoo moo like Brett Northworth. You're right about that.
That's a name for a Cajun band. Got to be sooner or later.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Higgs. Enjoy all the basketball this week. We'll talk NCAA tournament next week.
It'll be cool, Wolo. Take care. We'll see you.
You got it. That is our friend Ron Higgins. He brought you in part by James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center, home of the Stand System. If you don't know what that is, it's a custom fitting system only found at James Davis Men's Store in Laurelwood, the finest men's store for years in all of Memphis. And this system is new technology. It's 3 measurements for a shirt, 2 measurements for a pair of pants, fed into a computer, and an algorithm spits out the perfect fitting attire. I mean, it's incredible, reasonably priced. Used to be you'd get it in a week, but it's become so popular you got to wait about 3 weeks. But it's worth the wait. The only place in Laurelwood is James Davis that you can get that. And all the spring fashions have arrived. It's a rainbow in there now. Go see Shine. Go see all the crew. James Davis Men's Store. We thank Russell Copeland. We thank Ron Higgins. Tomorrow, when I come from Fort Worth, we'll be talking Memphis basketball, and we'll talk about the AAC and the SEC conference tournaments. It's a fun time of the year. Johnny Radio will be talking about it in just a minute. Have a great day, everybody.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 120 years. You know